Okay. So many of you will be aware, but for those that are new to the Lean Enterprise Academy, Dan Jones founded the Lean Enterprise Academy in 2003. And Dan is the author of many lean books and set up the Lean Enterprise Academy as a non-for-profit organisation with a purpose to help people become self-reliant in their lean journey. We have products and services that we offer to customers based around three key value streams, which are learn, teach, and coach and share. At the intersection of those processes is our lean learning journey. This is a platform where we are writing down in a usable form the key knowledge required to learn and implement lean. The materials are organised around what we call the Lean Transformation Framework, which we both research and develop with partner organisations. The materials and processes that you see today are based on a fundamental principle, which is give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. We've done a lot of research to understand how to learn lean most effectively. And we know from practical application that skill and capability development is best described as a journey. A guided learning path progressing from awareness and knowledge of a subject through understanding, being capable, and finally being able to teach and coach others. So today's materials are all about knowledge, skill level 1. This is the start of the learning journey. However, you and your organisation can also develop this knowledge by learning yourself online using our level 1 management system performance course. To become capable, however, you need to practice. This is best done on real issues at the workplace. We offer teaching and coaching for this, and we offer a process to help you able to develop others in your organisation. This approach mirrors what we know from the way that excellent lean companies like Toyota develop capability. It's simple and effective, and it uses plan, do, check, act methodology at each stage.
First, let's look at the frequent common problems or mistakes that companies make when they embark on their lean journey. Of course, the list isn't exhaustive, but we've selected the vital few, the ones that we see most frequently. Typically, we see efforts are made to try and improve processes that are not stable or reliable, resulting in little or no improvement in the longer term. Quite often, it's unclear what the performance or standards should be, making any gains impossible to measure. Some companies just take the approach of using CI teams to fly in like seagulls and implement improvement projects, which in the short term look like improvements, but the reality is that after the team has left, many of those gains that have been made during the weeks of support fade away. In organisations, roles and responsibilities are often unclear. People have titles, but really what they should be doing has not been defined or necessarily explained. As a result, issues and actions fall between gaps and no one really knows who should be doing what. The K in KPI is quite often forgotten, and there are too many disconnected results being reported up to make sense of or judge against. Visualization tends to be a massive wallpaper. That one's quite a nice William Morris effect on the right hand side for those that are interested. And as a result, action management is weak with little or no check and act. And finally, the leader's role is ill-defined and the expectations unclear or misunderstood. And this leads to something that we hear all too often. Yeah, we tried this lean stuff, but it didn't work for us. Okay. So we found that there's a missing step when organisations start the lean journey, and really that's to get stability first and make improvements second. And that means defining the standard of how processes should be performing and solving the initial problems to get the trains running on time every time to that standard. In itself, this will yield improvements, but the importance of this step is not recognised well enough and/or is not prioritised. However, it is fundamental and why establishing a management system for performance is key. This will help provide a foundation or basis from which to make and sustain further improvements. Okay, so we can now move on beyond this introduction to the background. We've identified that there are two key management systems required, one for performance and one for improvement. So a performance management system is all about maintaining a standard level of performance for a process or activity. It uses a structured, connected visual approach to monitor the performance, highlighting issues and reacting to them in a timely manner. It enables the business to run on a daily basis and sustain a defined level of output. It relies upon gathering accurate data about how a process is performing and having a method to close any gaps that are found. This helps maintain stability and sustain any future step change improvements that are made. An improvement management system is about improving the level of performance for a process or activity. These are the methods that enable the organisation to make step changes in performance to improve competitiveness over the medium and longer term. The activities are prioritised to align with the vision and goals of the business and focus on raising current performance levels through specific projects. It relies on thorough problem solving to identify these projects and action planning to make improvements happen. As you can see from the graphic, having just a performance management system leads to quite slow, steady improvement over time. Making improvements without a performance management system will result in unsustainable improvements, a bit like a sawtooth. Continuous improvement is the result of combining good performance and improvement management systems. It's only when the two are combined do you get continuous improvement supported by the relentless application of the PDCA cycle. Having one without the other will lead to very slow, erratic improvement results. However, they are discrete systems and they need separate routines to manage them effectively. Performance management is about stabilisation. Stability starts by defining a standard and managing to it. Are we winning or losing on an hourly, daily, weekly, monthly basis appropriate to your situation? Of course, some days are going to be better than others, but the point is that we can see and understand where we are and react to get back into control. Having achieved a level of stabilisation, this then provides a foundation from which to make sustainable improvements. To summarise, this table tries to show the differences between the two types of management systems. Performance deals with existing systems or processes using the resources already available. It relies on steady, regular problem solving at a tactical level to maintain processes in the short term. Improvement will often mean doing something different and making a step change. Clearly, these are more strategic, medium to longer term activities, sometimes needing the support of cross-functional teams to help make that change. If we try to visualize these concepts in one picture, it might look something like this. The road represents your continuous improvement plan or path from where you are today to where you want to get to in the future. The road signs indicate how much progress you intend to make each year on that journey. As you can see, there are some rocks or obstacles on the road. Let's think of these as problems. The smaller ones are those which crop up more frequently and are to be handled by your performance management system to keep you on track. The larger ones are the more difficult problems to be handled by your improvement management system in the form of improvement projects. The ones off the road are those which have been decided as not the priority issues for the time being. Often the most difficult decision to make. What are you not going to do? This visual's by no means perfect, but hopefully goes some way to try and explain the background and significance of the two types of management systems. The last piece in this section tries to support further our logic of why to start with a performance management system first. As we've explained, starting with performance management highlights short-term problems to solve whilst achieving some level of stability. By doing this, you make improvements in the current performance, and by making the work easier for those completing the value-adding tasks, help engage them in the lean approach. Overall, this will help the business performance and appease upper management, but most importantly, provide a foundation for further improvements and step changes to be made. So that concludes the introduction, and I'm going to now hand you over to David Marriott, who's going to discuss the Teach Poster method and walk you through the purpose, process and people of the performance management system.
Okay, thanks, Dave. So let's talk a little about why we use the Teach Poster concept. So for a sustainable lean transformation, we're strong believers in the concept of leaders as teachers. So that is leaders who take the time to teach and coach their team on the job to develop capabilities rather than relying on separate functions to do it for them. The benefits of doing this are huge in terms of advancing your lean journey better, faster and cheaper. But the challenge, however, is how to provide materials that enable leaders to do that. After a number of years of research and experimentation, we've found that this teach post we tried to distill the subject matter down onto one piece of paper, a bit like an A3. We found that this is much less daunting for the leaders to use and also much more informal than sitting down in a classroom and looking at a screen. All the posters we're developing have a similar layout and structure, making them easier to follow and remember. And as you can see, we try to use images and pictures over words to stimulate interest and discussion. A facilitation guide is written for each poster, covering the important steps, key points and reasons for each of the images to assist the leader when they're starting out to teach. And finally, the poster can be put up in your workspace for future reference rather than being hidden on a PC. Okay, so we're going to go through the upper portion of the performance management system poster, and we always start with the lean transformation framework and then cover purpose, process and people. So purpose positions the subject and why is it important. Process the conditions and considerations required to apply it. And people, the roles and responsibilities required to make it happen. So the lean transformation framework in essence is our approach or how we do lean. And we always ask, where does this topic fit in? As you can see, the framework consists of 5 dimensions, which all need to be considered for a successful lean transformation. And these dimensions can be asked as a series of questions. It starts with the number 1 at the top. What is our value-driven purpose? And more specifically, what problem are we trying to solve? And we've shared our thoughts on problem solving in prior webinars. With regards to a management system for performance, however, that really helps us answer question 4. What management system and leadership behaviours are required to support the new way of working? This question 4 is at the heart of the framework. It's closely connected with all of the other questions in terms of what problem are we trying to solve? How do we do and improve the work? How do we develop the capabilities we need? And what's the basic thinking and mindset to drive this change? A full explanation in video narrated by John Shook of the framework can be found on our website. Okay, so let's talk about purpose. So as you've heard and now understand, hopefully, it's all about maintaining the current performance standard. To do that, you first need to define that standard and then manage to it to achieve some level of stability. Are we winning or losing on that hourly, daily, weekly, monthly basis according to your situation? It can be said that having no performance management system is a bit like flying an airplane with no altimeter, compass or gyroscope, or having Otto as your co-pilot for those of you who are old enough to remember the movie. You don't know if you're too high, you don't know if you're too low, heading in the right direction, or getting better or getting worse, a bit like flying blind. But by having a system, you do, and it creates that base for further improvements. The process for managing performance is based around PDCA, or Plan, Do, Check, Act. It starts, however, with the Act, and having a method to capture data about how processes are performing, and understanding when they're out of standard and need acting upon. That information, where appropriate, needs to be escalated to a regular review meeting held at an appropriate frequency for the business environment. And here the planning takes place to measure and review the overall status, understand the gaps and decide what actions are needed to close them. The agreed actions are completed or done by the nominated individuals to close the gap and get the process back to standard. And a check is then carried out to make sure that the countermeasure actions have worked. And the final point is to reflect and ask ourselves, what do we learn to close the PDCA loop? The PDCA for managing performance needs to be considered at all levels of flow. From how an individual's performance is captured and reviewed, which then contributes to the work cell or area performance, and so on and so forth. All the activities at the different levels are connected like the links of a chain. To ensure the chain works, we must have a system that is able to find the broken links and fix them first. The minimum requirements for a performance management system can be broken down into 5 key elements. Firstly, we must ensure that we have a defined organisation structure with clear roles and responsibilities and the required skills to do those roles confirmed. Second is to define the key processes in the business and the KPIs and standards to understand if they are performing well and connect them at every level. And this is something that we call a KPI tree. Thirdly is to think about visualization and to determine quickly if we are winning or losing. We have a rule of thumb called the 10-10 rule, i.e. from 10 feet in 10 seconds, good visualization tells you if you're in a good or bad condition. The next element is to have a robust action management system to close any gaps that have been found. And finally, management routines to ensure the system is working at every level. Moving on to people, we'd like to introduce the concept of turning the triangle and start by looking at traditional organisation structures. These typically start at the top with a support structure built underneath to create a hierarchy in the form of a conventional triangle. Processes are designed and laid out with a view of serving the customer and the results reported up through the levels of management. Typically at some point when the results aren't good enough, decisions are taken and actions requested to improve them. And quite often leaders step down a level to solve the issues quickly by themselves. But as more problems build up, this tends to lead to firefighting. Team members become disengaged as they're not involved in solving their problems, and often they find the same issues repeating themselves. And so the cycle continues. And in all of this, no one's really taking care of the customer, and it's mostly about results-focused management. In a lean organisation, we want to turn the triangle and look at it from the other way round. We want to start with the processes and design them to ensure that they serve the customer, as the customer is king. The organisation's role, therefore, is to maintain the process results to achieve this. From a performance point of view, each process and level understands if they are winning or losing, as the KPIs and visuals have been defined. No doubt there will be problems, but they will be quickly identified at each level. In performance management, everyone's role is to tackle those problems, and if they can't, escalate for support using the management system. And the leader's role is to support the members by going to the actual workplace and helping others to fix the process problems together. And therefore, that's why we call it turning the triangle and process-focused leadership. In this type of organisation, the leader's role is to develop people. As Peter mentioned, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. The leaders need to be the teachers and coaches of others, developing problem-solving capabilities to help create a foundation for further improvement. The purpose is to put the structure and accountability around the leadership to verify process performance and demonstrate and encourage the right behaviours at the workplace. And to do that is what we call management routines. By doing this, this provides triggers for them to teach, coach, recognise and feed back to team members below them. And this should happen at all levels of the organisation.
Part of our research with organisations is about defining problems and closing gaps. And in our learning value stream, we have a worldwide club of Toyota car dealers. And they originally came together to learn how to apply the Toyota way to their sales, service and parts operations. More recently, a couple of them are working through the real life challenges of Toyota's strategy of becoming a mobility company. So they're asking the question, what does that mean for customers and the dealer processes they're responsible for? To close the gaps, our current focus is on the development of the management system. Given the value-driven purpose from Toyota, we're asking the question, what management system and leadership behaviours are required to support the new way of working? It's the question in the centre of the Lean Transformation Framework house. Here are the key steps that we've been going through and the learning so far. The main aim being to create self-reliance on their lean journey. The plan we used to help the organisation develop the performance management systems quite detailed. Each week there is a 1 hour teach on a key aspect of the performance management system. Then there's homework and a 1 hour coaching session to check understanding, provide additional support and maintain progress. The COVID pandemic has resulted in remote working only. as a result, we've worked on the management system remotely. It's been a challenge, really, because we usually insist on going to the Gemba, the Japanese term for the real place where the work's done. However, there are real benefits to supporting in this way, not least the opportunity for everyone to learn in small batches with a regular cadence. The structure is around the 5 elements of the performance management system as follows. There are 5 key design elements. These are shown on the left: organisation, structure and skills, the KPI tree, visualisation, problem and action management, and management routines. For each key design element, the leaders across the business, in 4 dealership sites in this particular case, went through a teach to understand the current state and define a target state, identified gaps to close between current and target, and then developed a plan to close those gaps, all using PDCA. The first of the 5 elements to tackle is organisational structure and skills. Each area of the business worked from the front line, assessing how they were organised to deliver value to customers. In some cases, team leaders were in place, but once teams realised the true purpose of a team leader, i.e. to teach and coach and develop others, they changed that structure to reflect the need for the leaders to be teachers and coaches. To do this effectively, their ratios of team leader to team member changed up or down depending upon the area. And this was done without increasing the headcount or the costs overall. With the team leader concept and the structure understood, team leaders then started to look at how they develop capability. We summarise the current state in a skills matrix or versatility chart, as drawn here, drawn by the guys in the company that did this, and that was all about identifying their skills gaps to close. The second key element is the development of a KPI tree. So this relates to the question that we had before. Again, we started by understanding the current state. And the KPI tree really needs to be developed at each level in the organisation. We organised from the strategy and from the definition of value to the customer, structuring the KPIs in terms of safety, people, quality, delivery and cost, because those were the elements in the strategy. As is typical, we had too many result cost KPIs, but not many customer orientated and process metrics. There are 2 dimensions to any KPI work. There's the horizontal flow of value to the customer, and there's the interaction vertically through the organisation. At the high level, key to key, the lead time for the customer from dropping off a car to collecting that car is important. However, that means nothing to a technician doing the work in the bay. So here the relevant performance indicator inside the bay is completing the work to the takt time, in this case a 30-minute cycle. So here's an example of a KPI tree for one area in one dealership. It's the service department value stream. There are several teams in service. BDC, they're the booking people, they take bookings. Parts department, the service reception, drive-through. The predictable work team, known as the green team, which service and repair predictable work under 30 minutes duration. The orange team that health check vehicles, the blue team that do unpredictable jobs, and the detail team that clean the service vehicles. That's not a typical organisation structure of a dealership, but these guys have been doing lean for some time, and they've understood the reasons for separating predictable and unpredictable flows. But each team developed their performance management metrics, which are fed to the service department manager. These in turn feed to the site KPIs and then to the group KPIs. With the KPI tree defined, each team then started to visualize these. The critical thing here is not to be too prescriptive. It's not about standardizing boards across the whole of the piece, but to ensure that the vital few issues are structured and captured. Each frontline team captured their visualization following the 10 feet, 10 second rule that Dave mentioned earlier. They developed owners for each KPI, who would fill in the details before the meeting, and they practiced the team meetings. Good visualization has the PDCA cycle embedded in it. It should display the problems the team is working on. This brings us really to the next element, problem and action management, which is shown at the bottom of this board. So there's a space at the bottom of the board for that. Okay, so a critical part of performance management is the identification and management of problems. We've discussed in previous webinars that the Lean community has a problem with problem solving. I think from the comments before, the Six Sigma and Lean Six Sigma, whatever that is, community do too. They have made problem solving far too complicated. Not everything needs an A3. Teams conducting daily performance meetings need a simple way to capture issues and ensure follow-up. So this is a good example from from a sales team where they identified during an early sales meeting. They recognised that vehicles in the car park, or lot, as they say across the Atlantic, failed to start. Everyone knew that the batteries drained, and so they needed a boost before the vehicles could be moved. However, using their board, they realised this only contained the issue. The issue to address was identifying the root cause or root causes. Why didn't the cars start? The team used very simple 5 whys. They knew the battery's flat, but they asked a further why. They realised that they overproduced, preparing cars well in advance of when they were required. They ran an experiment where they only prepared a vehicle when it was sold, and this reduced the number of boosts required, saving everyone a lot of time. So hopefully that framework starts to address Kenichi's question that he asked before. Anyway, the last element is making some of the invisible work of management visible. Each manager and team leader was asked to write down their management routine in terms of what they need to check, where they need to look, and what they need to do. Specific timing, be it daily, monthly, or quarterly, begins the process of developing standardized work for managers. It's important here that not just what is to be done, but how it is to be done is discussed and documented. This example, developed by one of the service managers, shows the activity required to support the green team that serviced the predictable cars under 30 minutes duration in one store. Writing down the management routines provides the framework and structure for the leader's activity to verify the performance management system and trigger when to provide recognition, teaching, coaching, or constructive feedback. You create culture by changing what you do. This process helps provide framework to embed the behaviours needed to work effectively within and across the teams, in turn changing what they do. Developing the performance management system is a journey. It requires multiple PDCA cycles. Arguably, the group did this at one of the most challenging times in the eye of the COVID pandemic storm. However, the process has been hugely beneficial. They had their best ever tyre season, changing from winter to summer tyres, and have increased profits in an overall declining market. More importantly, they're aware of gaps in day-to-day performance that need to be closed and have begun the process of problem solving much closer to the work than they did before. This is providing a level of stability that enables management to think through their next steps on their journey of supporting Toyota's strategy of becoming a mobility company.
So Hansi, or self-reflection, is a Japanese term meaning to acknowledge one's own mistake and to pledge improvement. Okay, so I pledge to not put my mic on mute again. The term implies that nobody and nothing is perfect and that criticism is necessary and a valuable part of self-development. This philosophy places a high value on the iterative process of reflecting, analysing and improving. It's not only used when things fail, but also when they succeed. So anything can be better and made more efficient. So true learning is understanding when we're not entitled to perfection, but it's something we can work towards, and embracing criticism gives us the ability to control our goals and achieve them. So Toyota describe Hansi, or self-reflection, is when they recognise mistakes and take appropriate action to avoid reoccurrence. So even if a task is completely successful, there is need for a Hansi-kai, or reflection meeting. This is a process that helps identify failures experienced along the way and create clear plans for future efforts. So we're going to try and attempt to do a Hansi now with our technology, hopefully. So, okay, let's get started. So we've got to open up now your AHA Slides connection. So this is the technical bit, yeah? So you can do this by typing in the link into your browser or scanning the QR code with your mobile phone camera app. So if you want to do that now, okay. So based on the knowledge you've gained so far today, we'd like you to use this session to carry out a Hansi or a self-reflection on your current state against turning the triangle to a lean performance management system. So first we'll review the performance management gap assessment that we put together, and then we'll determine which levels match your current situation. Next, then we will investigate and reflect a bit deeper by focusing on your gaps and answering some more specific questions. And then the last step then is start thinking about your next steps to close those gaps. Okay, so hopefully we will have you'll have printed out your management form. If you can see that, so I'm white as well in my background. Yeah. So if you printed that out or at least read it, so we can make a reflection based on the same criteria. We've developed an assessment around deploying a robust performance management system. So assessments can be good if they are used correctly to reflect the current situation, determine the gaps, where you are now versus where you want to be next, and plan your next steps to close those gaps. So as a quick recap, the gap assessment is shown in 5 levels of achievement and based on assuring your performance to customers is sustained and maintained every day. So this starts with starting level. This is really about recognizing some of the issues that relate to your current performance management system, such as performance being mixed up with improvement activities and reviews that don't follow act, plan, do, checked. Performance management only being seen as reporting or generation of reports for next level management to review. Or one of the biggest issues I've seen is having stress managers that are busy firefighting continually performance problems by themselves with little or no time to do improvement activities. So the next level then is learning level. This is where you are initially defining and developing your system to the minimum performance management requirements that they went through earlier. This is where you're defining your roles and responsibilities, realigning the team leader to team member ratios for effectiveness, and then each level and area has visualized their performance gaps and problem solving status is starting to be visible. The next level then is implementing level. This is where you're starting to align, link, and expand the performance management system to all levels of flow. This is done by implementing the act, plan, do, check process into most areas of your organization. Problem solving is also being lowered to first line leaders and team members through the coaching and teaching of the upper level management. The next level then is what we call driving level. This is where you've developed a robust performance management system at all levels of flow, and management routines focus on developing the necessary capabilities and behaviours of people. So this is where team leaders and members have become capable problem solvers at this level and are starting to make improvements as well as managing performance. And the last level is excelling level. This is where the lean performance management activities and behaviours are now embedded in your organisation. And it increases an increase in process stability has enabled more time and focus for improvement activities. This is a slide, I think we got stuck on a slide before, and this is a slide we should have showed. This is turning the triangle the right way so that the customer comes first with a design process that we maintain the performance on. And we review that performance at team member level and connect the problem escalation and the go-see activity to leadership to that. Yeah. Okay, so the performance management system also needs to be continually reviewed and updated to ensure the changes in customer requirements are also reflected in it. So as previously mentioned, the value of an assessment is really in the discussion and debate, not in scores or levels. You should not think of it as a tick box exercise, as a list of things to achieve, but more as a progressive PDCA deployment to suit your own situation. So we're going to try and switch now the technology. Hopefully we won't have a glitch with this one. And we're going to see where you guys are on your levels of your performance management system. So using the AHA voting buttons that you should be able to see now, then you want you to select the level you're currently on, achieving against this assessment. So you just need to select the button and press submit. So what do we got? Lots of people on starting. It's like the general election voting. This is very good. Okay, so nobody on the higher levels yet. Okay. So we've got quite a few polling. Good. People have managed to use the technology. It's going up. Level 3 is going up. Implementing. Okay, so I think, that looks interesting that not many people have gone beyond level 3. So I think we've got plenty of potential to improve the performance management system. So I think if we dig a bit deeper now and ask some more specific questions, we'll see why that is. So the next question is, does your performance management system follow act, plan, do, check process? So we got yes, no. Well, so quite a lot on no. So remember, having a robust and clear understood process for managing performance is key. So everybody can act on their process KPI gaps, as Dave said before, if they're not achieving their standard. And you do this through visualizing and frequently reviewing them at the right level. Then you can plan your actions to address the root causes by applying rapid problem solving methods, and then implementing your countermeasures and actions quickly and checking out the effectiveness of those gaps. So that's the act, plan, do process. So we've got quite a few doing yes, others no. Okay, so the next question is, are your leaders teaching and coaching problem solving? What have we got here? Sometimes. Never. Well, that's great. That's a lot more than I thought on the problem solving. Yeah, we've got some leaders doing that. Yeah. So when we say teaching and coaching problem solving, that should be really a daily aspect, yeah, of leaders' activities, going and checking that people are using the performance system and then actually actioning them problems in the right way and following the method that Dave showed before. Okay, so next question is, what is the biggest gap in your current performance management system? So is it the organizational structures and capabilities? Is it the process KPIs? Is it the visualized performance reviews, or is it the problem and action management? Or is it the management routines and behaviors? Okay, so problem and action management, it's pretty, and then management routines and behaviors. Yeah, okay. So are leaders clear about their roles and responsibilities in supporting the performance management system, or are they trying to solve people's problems for them, maybe? Okay, good. And the next one is then, what's your biggest barrier to achieving the next level on the assessment? So this is a free text. You can put in what you want here. And just make some statements, just some simple statements on what you think your biggest barrier of achieving the level that you put in. So quite a lot of you were on level 1. KPI overload, yeah, that's a typical one. That's good. Leadership buy-in, no organizational focus, okay. Reliable daily PDCA, so having a robust process, cross-business agreement, management behavior, firefighting, yeah, that kills the whole thing. Leadership buy-in, people reluctant to change. Wow, so we've got a lot. Okay, train team leaders. Yeah, we need to make our team leaders capable, and the management teaching and coaching them. Too busy firefighting. That's one I hear all the time. Yeah, and not having teams. Yeah, we started out the team organisation structure wasn't clear. Yeah, so we couldn't do it then. Okay, that's great. Okay, well, we'll collect some of them. So the last question then is, what are you currently working on to improve your management system? So same thing again, just make some clear statements on what those things are that you're currently doing to improve your management system. So culture and understanding, training, okay. Learning, training again, weekly engagement meetings with leadership, okay. Visualization performance, yeah. What we see together, we can act on together. Gathering the initial KPI data, yeah, that's a hard process to start with. developing the culture. We do that through doing something different, as Dave said. Training behaviours, KPI management routines need defining. Visualization again, making that clear, 10 feet, 10 seconds. And coaching the importance of performance management. Yeah, that's a really good point to make. Yeah, and the leaders doing that. And the leaders have a big change in their role. Yeah, from solving problems for people to actually coaching them to use the system. So leaders really need to think about how they do that in their routines, to coach people rather than do it for them. Okay, I think that's enough. We'll try and collate some of those answers and look at that in a bit more detail. So while we switch over back to technology, hopefully. So I hope you found that reflection exercise useful and made you think about any gaps in your current performance system. And remember, to implement the management system requires changes to all of those 5 elements. So it needs to be balanced. So you need to get the organisation structure and skills right. You need to define the KPIs around the right processes. We need to visualise it correctly, 10 feet, 10 seconds. We need to put connect that to the problem and action management. We shouldn't be having KPI boards without problem and action management. That's simply done. And then having the right management routines to support that. Otherwise, you won't have a robust system and the management activities and behaviours won't change. So to do this well requires a learning by doing process to design the system along with the people using it. You should do this together and not in isolation, as David showed earlier. And by starting off and piloting it in one area in your organisation and then cascading the learning throughout your organisation. Okay, so for the last bit then, we're just going to talk about how we can go about that lean learning journey. Okay, so you want to move the slide on? Thanks. I suspect many of you are thinking that this is all good, but the real issue for me is how do I learn this well as an individual or cascade it successfully into my organisation? So skill development should not be done as a quick one-off training activity to achieve a certificate or a belt. It should be viewed as a supported and progressive skill development journey. So real learning and skills are achieved through on-the-job practice with support, just like learning to drive. So to build a true lean culture in an organisation, it can only be done when the line leadership become the teachers and coaches. So the thinking way and behaviours then become embedded at every level of the organisation. So our recommended lean learning journey for performance management is to gain some initial basic knowledge around the purpose, process and people and get familiar with the subject, most of which you've covered today. And we offer this as a skill level 1 course for you and your organisation to use it. And I think some of you already put some comments in there, that your leaders need to understand what it is, and that course will help you with that process and the teach poster and the script that we're going to give you later. So the next step on your lean learning journey should be to gain a deeper understanding of the key minimum requirements needed to implement the performance management system to a successful standard. This should be taught through practice by using safe exercises and video feedback sessions. This way you can reflect on the exercises and learn from your mistakes. Skill level 3 then is aimed at making you capable through step-by-step implementation in your workplace and coached by a person qualified at the skill level 4 level. It's recommended you start off in one pilot area or a team in your organisation and give this multiple passes of the PDCA learning process till the system and behaviours become embedded. And then you can expand out from there on. If you do have a role as a leader, then we recommend you go on to complete skill level 4 to do performance management well and be able to teach and coach others. Here, we recommend you gain more experience through completing multiple implementations while developing your basic coaching skills. Depending on your circumstances, or if you don't have access internally to a skill level 4 coach, we can offer you some online or face-to-face coaching, just as Dave showed before, or contact us directly if you're interested in doing that and partnering with us. So if you're running a company, a site or a department or a team, please ask yourself how you're developing capability and do you have a process to do it? Okay, so today we provided you with an overview of our teach poster method, exploring performance management in terms of background, purpose, process and people. You learned from David Brunt about a situational implementation using performance management system requirements and the benefits that they gain from doing that. And finally, we did a reflection to understand the gaps and where you are with turning the triangle from a traditional performance management system to a lean management system in your organisation. I hope you enjoyed this learning session and webinar today, and you take the next steps on improving your performance management system.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest lean content.